And we're now, again, I look at Deion Sanders. I know people think I'm too hard on Deion, but again, his life has been filled with personal life chaos. And it's, I just don't know how you install that as a leader for young men. They're going to be looking at Deion. I know I wouldn't be saying, well, look at what Deion does. I can do all, I can. That's our standard for leadership, and we should be aspiring to something much higher. We've been having this conversation, I think it started last week, and it's spilled over into this week. Virgil, what do you think of, and I'm lobbing you a softball here, I know what you think, but my criticism of Bill Belichick and this 72-year-old with a 23-year-old, and I want you not, you always do this, but maybe walk biblical history, because some people will go to the Bible and say, well, hold on, man, this guy was this old and had a young, anyway. I just, what Bill Belichick doing to me is preposterous. It's disqualifying as a leader, but I actually think it actually qualifies him for leadership in our current society.
Yeah, I think the last thing you said is absolutely correct. It probably qualifies him for leadership in the current culture in which we live. But I mean, that doesn't say much. It's not a really high bar. It would be one thing for Belichick to say, you know what, I'm in love. I'm going to marry this young lady. It's another thing just to have this girl living at his house and having sex with her and doing all the kinds of whatever else he's doing with her. In a public sphere, and it speaks to who he is. It speaks to his character or lack thereof. I think all of those things are at play. I have no idea what a 70-year-old man has in common, or even has from a standpoint of conversation with a 23-year-old woman, young girl. There's nothing apart from the physical aspects, unless Bill Belichick is really just an idiot outside of coaching. I mean, unless he's just totally dumb and just devoid of any kind of intelligence whatsoever, apart from football, there's not really a whole lot that they would have to talk about. We've installed them; they've been installed in these positions, and they eventually show themselves. I don't believe Belichick's installed, but his behavior really undermines what the standard that he set of excellence on the football field.
Kevin, am I being too hard on Belichick?
I think, what was it, Charles Barkley in a commercial years ago said, I'm not a role model, right? So we have to choose carefully who we're looking up to. Listen, the guy's a great football coach, maybe the greatest of all time. Do we look to him for moral character, for character attributes, for leadership? Well, for a football team, yes. For a football team that's going to win Super Bowl after Super Bowl, yeah, probably. But for a guy who's going to lead the country or lead anything else, I don't think so. And I think this isn't that uncommon. I see a lot of folks, they're successful entrepreneurs, they'll exit their business and then they'll go berserk because they don't know what to do anymore. You see this in retirement. You see this when people leave sports. They're doing something great, and then suddenly there's this world out there that's not structured, or there's not a framework for them to operate within anymore. So I don't know, if this is a new relationship after he left football, then I would say it's probably a symptom of him entering into a world of chaos in a modern society that he doesn't have a framework to live into.
I think, based off of the way it's been described, it's a new relationship that now he's struggling in football. That once he started, Tom Brady leaves and they start struggling on the football field, and he can see the end. You're like, man, me and Bob Kraft may split up. I do, and TJ and I have had the conversation off air that, I wouldn't say TJ's sympathetic, but TJ thinks like, yeah, this is just a late life crisis that he's responding poorly to.
Yes. So to answer your question, he was dating this woman named Linda that everybody assumed he would get married to up until September of 2023, and everybody around him was stunned when they broke up. He went straight to a 23-year-old. And she was 22 at the time, right? And now they've moved in together. They're actually, it seems, pursuing some sort of relationship, which I just find to be so weird, and something that it's we were discussing the Matt Stafford thing off air. Just like, why would you ever do that to your husband? For the background on that, his wife went on a podcast and said, yeah, I dated the backup quarterback just to make Matt angry when we were in college and getting together. And it's like, you know what that's going to do to him in the locker room? Okay. Now, do you know what this is going to do to Belichick in the locker room? Like this sort of behavior, and this is self-inflicted. That was his wife, and you're like, hey, could you shut up? You're not doing me any favors here. Belichick is doing this to himself. I think it's crazy. I think you undermine your own authority. And so it's like, how can you, because Belichick, I was in the meeting room when Belichick would say, hey, there's only a few things that can take you down. Alcohol, a-holes, and women. It's like, well, you're in bed with a 23-year-old. You don't think she can take you down? You're literally in bed with a 23-year-old. So how can you take, Belichick used to be able to preach to people, and he's actually a very good teacher. And you could take what he said as law, one, because he was so knowledgeable about everything, but two, because he had so much success and was not violating the contract he had with you in his personal life, and now he is. Like, you don't think this 23-year-old's gonna take you down? You're out of your mind.
I honestly believe he's so shook up about the failure of his late career here. And again, it doesn't mean his career is a failure, but he's struggling post Tom Brady. And then when he didn't get a head coaching job, he's just sitting there stunned. And I honestly think he's being used basically to, again, just continue to lower the standards for leadership. Because now that you have Belichick out here, a clown just like everybody else, it just, well, if Belichick, he's the greatest coach, and you know, he's 70 years, he's got a girlfriend that's 49 years younger. He's a clown just like the rest of us. How can anybody, Deion Sanders, maybe he's been married 2 or 3 times, or I'm not sure what he's got going on in his personal life, but he's had a lot going on in his personal life. Well, that's not disqualifying, because now what about Belichick? No different they do. What about Trump? It's just a consistent lowering of standards. Anybody can be installed as a leader, and we have to accept it.